And thank you very much. We're at Makila, the Gulch here. A couple of ground rules, if you may. I'm going to do a lot of talking, but I will open up to questions. When I do, please ask your question and then be still so I can answer it. And I will answer it, believe me, I will answer it. And then I'll ask if there are any more questions, then please, I do want to answer your question. We want to, 9 o'clock is minus time, and this is a very special place for those of you who came yesterday. As you scope the land, you can already see the limu coming up. But I'm going to ask Johanna, who's part of a hui that is trying to malama our aina here, to give you a brief background of what's really happening here. So, Johanna, if you please.
Keep forgetting. I'm Johanna Kamanu. I'm from Waihe'e. So you're probably wondering, what is a Waihe'e person doing here in Lahaina? I know, sorry. I haven't been teaching for a long time.
So way up there on the road, talking to them.
So I'm from Waihe'e. My name is Johanna Kamanu. My husband and I have been involved in a litigation here in Lahaina. It's regarding the flood zone project. Makila Land Company sold 10 parcels to the county. In the process of the county acquiring it, they came to the realization that there was some clouded title. There was a cloud on all the titles, and families had to be notified. When they made the summons, we recognized that some family names were on those parcels, the Land Commission Awards. So we came forward. And since then, we realized that they never had a deed to show that they owned this land. Instead, they acquired it by adverse possession from the plantation, sold it now to the County of Maui for $2.6 million, and was going to walk away with that money until we came in with our case. Besides proving our genealogy to them, our connection to that land and our interest, we had to show that some harm was being done by their project. Thank goodness Michael came along and he helped us realize the impact the land has on the ocean, and that the ocean is part of a cultural practice, a living cultural practice. Now, we've been to the ocean for years, our whole life, never really considered it as a practice. But after spending some time with Michael, I realized that our whole life we have been living the cultural practice. And that's the thing that's really kind of exciting for us today, is the realization that all our lives, every single person here, has been living a cultural practice. For us, it's the Hawaiian cultural practice. But our case thus far has had 2 continuances by the County of Maui because I cannot say why. They just want a continuance. So we're going into our 3rd year, I think, on the project, on the case. Our next court date isn't until November. We've been able to at least stall them this far. We've only been able to provide claim to 2 parcels, but after doing our genealogy, reading Kamakau, and listening to Michael, we realized that we should have claimed all 10 parcels, and it's something we're hoping to do. We don't intend to claim it for ourselves, but we know that there are people who rightfully belong to that parcel. So if anything, we're going to preserve what we can until such time as they find out that this is theirs. But that's the whole reason we're here.
And the name of your group?
The group that started research is Hui Pono Ike Kanawai. Translated, it means, I guess it's the right understanding of the law. Because if you're connected to the Land Commission Awards and the Royal Patent, these lands were first conveyed by that means, then the laws that created it have effect on it. And those laws were created by the Kingdom of Hawaii. And we realized also since then, in other cases, that the United States has recognized prior patents. They cannot ignore it. So even though the courts seem to ignore that, it's the process that the court goes through. You have to understand the format and the wording and the text, but there is a way to recognize that. We've not totally understand the law, but we've understood enough that we're able to prevent the action from taking place. And as Michael comes along and others come along, more start to come forward. And it just seals our cause, so to speak. Howdy?
Aloha, my name is Kahuna. I come from the other side of the mountain. You met my wife. We live, of course, I grew up on Maui, and a lot of changes. You know, growing up in a society that dictates that you are somebody else and you think like that person, you start to accept all the changes that happen. You don't realize until an opportunity comes along that what you're being told is not actually what is supposed to be and what you need to attach to. I am 49 years old, and I never really got active in knowing anything about my culture, truthfully, till I was 45. I believe that, you know, what was established is what was true. What I see is what is supposed to be. But what I've discovered in taking this journey, understanding our culture, I find out what is really isn't, and what's not is. So I had to step back and understand who I am. I had to come to the realization that the word kanaka wasn't a negative connotation. It is actually the right word for me. I am not Kanaka, I am Kanaka. I am a human being. And for me to lose my identity because of someone else's desires or progression is truly unfair. So growing up on Maui, these areas, if you haven't grown up here, these areas are pristine. Keawe used to go through here. You know, to get to these places, you kind of had to hike. You know, and you know, I mean, it was a good area. You know, I mean, you could fish, you could do whatever. But I see the changes in Lahaina, and it's sad. It's sad to what's happening. And since we've been in coming forward as Kanaka and trying to explain to an entity that doesn't understand who you are, it cannot relate to you because their purpose and design is totally against what you actually are. So what we try to preserve is actually stopping them from going forward. This flood zone project actually shouldn't exist. It didn't go through all the process prior to being established. It was just pushed through. And even though the county hasn't cleared their land titles or claims to properties, hasn't stopped them from producing what you see today. Now, can you imagine what you see right here now? If a storm like we had 2 weeks ago magnifies itself at least 2 times, this won't be here no more. This won't be here no more. If you walk through those tunnels and you look at the magnitude of water that will be coming through. Now, not only water, it's whatever opala is there. Now that means cardboard, plastics. I'm talking about poisons that people have put to keep the shrubbery down. You're talking about anything that doesn't belong in there will now be part of that. And this is for the purpose of not even us as a people of the community. It is for the welfare of corporations.
The 1%.
You know, we enjoy going to the beach, but someday this is going to be of the past. And if you look behind you, that's the future. That's the future. That's what we're looking at. This will never exist. If they continue to what they're doing, it is going to make me disappear. People like me, people like Mike, Pono, Hank, Claire. You know, I told this group once, one day you're gonna have to visit Hawaiians, you know, plastic casing in the Bishop Museum. Because everyone knows, and the Hawaiians have always said this, if no more the Aina, if we cannot be who we are, then we are not, yeah? If we cannot practice picking up limu, fishing, if I cannot give that to my mo'opunas, then we disappear. Ocean, Aina, Kanaka, all one. One missing, everything is gone. You know? So the understanding of what Mike brings to the table and what Claire is doing is very important for the existence, so that you don't see me in a plexiglass as you would see the Japanese dolls in a museum, to know that I actually existed. So our connection to everything you see here, my connection to Maui is who I am. And it's sad to say, it took me 45 years of being taught. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. That's a crime. That is a crime. No man, no woman, no child should have their identity changed unless they themselves are willing to do that. I want to know who I am. I want to be Kanaka. So I have to, like you, have to turn to those that practice the culture to find my way. Yeah. I'm glad that so many people showed up. I don't mean to impose on your time with Michael, but the actions of what's going on, people don't realize until you attend the meetings what impact that it has. And this is only one area. I know you guys seen the windmills, and I asked it, I said, not as a Kanaka, but as a resident of Maui, how to the windmills. How do I benefit as a paying taxpayer of this county and state, as one that contributes to Maui Electric? I'm being told that green energy, but the only green energy I see is more of the green coming out of my pocket, going into their pocket. So only guys gaining energy is, again, the corporations. I don't see it on my bill, but they're telling me that this is the right thing. But it has an adverse effect. It's all going to have an adverse effect, such as this. But what I'm saying to you as other people, as people of this community, this is not right. That's not right. There was nothing wrong with the place. There was nothing wrong. Hawaiians survived thousands of years as a prosperous people in harmony. But mahalo, thank you.
Aloha, thank you, Kaneloa. We're going to now have a foundational chant, and my cousin Hank is going to come up and do it, so we'd like to gather around.
The reason I wanted to share this foundational chant is because prior to Christianity, and this is not a call about whose religion is what, there were the Hawaiian gods, and so I want to speak of them and show you what they mean and why it is that in our hearts we have this desire to keep malama. So I'll say it in Hawaiian and then I'll say it in English so we all understand that. So it starts off with Hey tu, ate te tai o tu, or ocean god, you give us life and you take it away. E tanaloa, lao virito. This is the sun god. Ask the sun god to raise the waters of the oceans into the heavens. The third god in appearance is the god Lono, and it says, Hey Lono, he utomia ai o te poiono. And it says, you Lono, you're in charge of the staff of life for all living things on earth. So how does he accomplish this? He partners up with the god Kani. And he says, Hey tani, ta hitawai ta tuhiri. Hey luli ta po atu. So he's saying, Oh God Kani, please release the waters of the heavens, that it may land on the mountaintops. And as it finds its way back to the ocean, it feeds all those things that are put into the ground to sustain life. Thank you.
The idea of kana vai, kana, to move, vai, water, the moving waters. We in the Konehiki system do not separate the mountain from the sea and the depths of the ocean, because that life-giving source water is everything. But for water, you have no life. That's why the law of kanavaya, the movement of water, is so important. For those who came yesterday in Kihei, it's important to look, as I say, Kahuna omaka, what you see where you're at. So if we look at the waters and we see the rich, abundant limu, we can see different kinds of color limu coming up. But we also see on the rocks different kinds of opihi that are coming up in all different places. But also when you look, you see this congregate or aggregate of rock stuck in something that looks like mud or clay that happens to be now as hard as rock itself. It's become rock. That's an ancient flow that came down. So we have a unique place here. Not only do we have the living strata of vegetation from the sea, we have a historical, prehistoric record, which makes this a very unique place when it comes to archaeology to put things together. So let's walk down slowly. leave this gravel area open because it's part of the yeah. Okay, what's important is the phases of the moon for our cultural practice. The moon sets up the conditions of the tides, the currents, the winds. What we have here, the gravel as Kahuna Omaka, when you look and to see the gravel, I would know that we're in the time of the new moon. I'd also know what's inside by looking at the shells. You have aleho, you have tiny invertebrate shells, you have opihi. So before you even go in the water, this is the sea's ibi kupuna, their bones, what is left behind. Right before the new moon and during the new moon, the tide sieves and filters up very small shells like niihau shells, small ones, brings them to the surface. Those niihau shells, they eat off of our limu. So if you know what limu that they eat off of, just by looking at the type of shell, you already know what kind of limu is before you even go into the water. You don't even have to go into the water because this pu'u is going to have this limu that it loves to eat off of. When you look at the distribution of all the little rubble, when you have a full moon, it brings up your heavier clunky level, your conch shells, bigger shells. So the new moon sieves out very fine things. The full moon brings up very clunky, heavy things. This tells you how the ocean cycle moves. It's important to know when we Hawaiians did anything, we went to the master leho, the master uopu, the master fish in the sea, the kaku. And of course, when we talk about ku'ula, the ku'ula is the red octopus, the master fisherman, the craftsman, in and out, slink and slow, fast and speedy, camouflage, squirt ink. He's the master ninja artist of the ocean. So ku'ula, a star constellation in the shape of an octopus at the foot of Kani in the sky. And his son is also the uhu fish. Everything is all connected to each other. Kumulipo chant one, the limus that come up, Iala'e and Ahiomoe wake up during their season when the water is warm. They all come out from their sleep and they see they're protected the next month by the plants in the mountain that send in the stream their ho'okupu to the ocean, their fruits, their spores. And when the fish come by, they have a choice to partake of this limu or you partake what the stream brings us in the kanawai. And most of them says, oh, mahalo, I like this, what the mountain is giving me. And by eating that, in lieu of the limu, they protect the limu that's down here. So the 13 limus in chant 1 of Kumulipo are being protected 1 month after they wake up by what's in the mountain coming down our streams. Very important because you block that, you cut that off, you're now not protecting our limu. It says right there, guarded by the kala, guarded by the kala vine in the mountain. Already it's established 2,300 years ago. So to say we're ignorant of it means you are ignoring, willfully ignoring what the truth is. So it's all there. The ocean sings a song, the limu sings a song, our pipi'i sing a song, the pipi'i kolea sing a song. But are we listening to that song? And to listen to that song, you have to watch the dance that they make on the rocks. Why are they there? Why aren't they there? That's what Kahuna Omaka tells us. Now this is a very unique place because not only do you have a profuse amount of abundance of invertebrates and limu, but we have a historical record that has been left here going back 100,000 years. So we're going to take a look at that record. Okay, here we have a strata of rock that you can obviously see there are many types of rocks in between this, which was once soil sediment. That soil sediment is hard as concrete. That did not happen overnight, but it is at the surface. But there was something even more at the surface here before it was washed out. So we're talking thousands of years old. What does that do for us? It gives us a history of what happened in the mountains during heavy rains that came down. If we go all the way to the surface where the road level is, we're talking about maybe 10 feet high. So every inch is a period of time. Every foot is a period of time. Go down 10 feet to here, that's a lot of time that's passed by. But then we see you go down 3 feet, and then we see our alai clay right here, still there. The alai clay that we use for our cultural practice from the mountains, that it came over maybe 100,000 years ago to this beach. And we know it came a long time ago because under my feet here is sandstone. Sandstone covering the alai. So the period of time in prehistoric history tells us in the sandstone we have shells. And those shells tell us the history of an ancient past here in this specific place with Leho and all your different shells concreted into the sandstone, flash frozen, the health of the ocean many years ago. So right here, when we have to make a case, you've got the historical archaeological record of a time capsule, and we still use our alai today for our health purposes. Cultural practice. Pa'akai. Most people think it's just limu or invertebrates or fishing, but we use the kapa'akai for salting our fish, our pipi'i, our medicine, and preserving the limu as well. All part of cultural practice. If that ocean is polluted and it goes into our kapa'akai salt, that's injuring us. Under Article 12, Section 7 of the state constitution, the highest law of this land, we will not over-regulate or destroy religious or Hawaiian cultural gathering rights or practice. That destruction is going on all the time. And that's why we're here to say, Eala E, we're here to transmit that you have been practicing your culture and not even knowing that you're practicing your culture. So we have to define what are the Hawaiian cultural resources. The alai that we have is a Hawaiian cultural resource. The water that we have is a Hawaiian cultural resource. The underground plumbing called pahoihoi lava tubes and karst are our Hawaiian resources because they're the conduit of the fresh water, bringing nitrates and nutrients that wake up our limu and feed our limu. In this area, for 300 feet either way, we have tons of limu. Go further down, it disappears. Why? No vai, no fresh water mixed into the kai, becoming auwai. So it's really important to protect these water resources and everything. Our fishery is a Hawaiian cultural resource, and it's not just a Hawaiian cultural resource, it's a public trust. Everything I've mentioned is a public trust for everybody, for every generation. Why is it being taken away for future generations? Question, what kind of iwi kupuna are you going to be? What kind of kupunas are you going to be? What is in your box that you're going to have as tools for your grandchildren in the future? Is it going to be an empty box with an empty land that is a desert island? Because we're at the tipping point right now. We cannot allow this to happen right now. We have to stand up, put skin in the table, and risk ourselves to finally say we testify to the truth. And what is the truth? The truth is we do not destroy for money. The Western lens is a lens for greed and money. Our lens is konehiki, proper management by nature itself, puts out the roadmap, not arbitrary, bad science fair projects for professors that live off of grants. That is not what we do in Hawaii. When Captain Cook came in March 19, 1778, 1.2 million Hawaiians tens of thousands of monk seals, taking from the ocean the productive harvest of the protein food source of fish and the fishery without collapsing either, because konahiki means rest. Rest. So where is the rest on our land? There is no rest. It's take, take, take without rest. So you collapse the source that gives the life, which is the breeders that have to have rest. They keep on taking the biggest breeders. We wonder why the fish are collapsing. In 1970, they dismantled the konahiki system. We wonder why people go 24/7 whenever they want, with only 6 dole care officers for Oahu for enforcement. Ole, that is not enough to protect what we have. We're at the tipping point. We will not have unless people get involved, get interested, get active, find out, call, come out, use your resources and talents and gifts. All of them are diverse. All of them are necessary. Each of us can kokua and pull together to do what needs to be done. Every source of our limu has to be protected. Retention dams up here has to be a minimum. Reservoirs, minimum. We cannot allow the drainage to pick up the waste oil that has heavy metals and lead to go out here where we have people paddling for their health, where we have people surfing, where we have people diving for fish, where we have people gathering the limu for limu medicine and for food. That is genocide on our people, and that goes against the highest law that was put in by the people of Hawaii. We will not over-regulate or destroy Hawaiian cultural practices and gathering rites, which is going on at this minute, destruction after destruction. Iala e, open maka'ala, your eyes, because the path to destruction is this road of the Western lens of palapala for greed and money and selfishness, quick claim titles of people's lands that they have no right to go after. So we have to get up. We have to ask questions. We have to get involved. At this time, I'm going to ask if anybody has any questions before we go out. Yes.
What seals this in the sand and all this? What?
Time.
Pressure.
And pressure, because this, as I said, if we had the land up here a long time ago, it's squashing down on all of this, yeah? And you can see in this footprint, which looks like a footprint with a big toe, the feet and the little toe, you can see the kapa'akai limu, the salt crystals gathering in this footprint. So all of this is really important for us to and if they want to do grants for education for University of Hawaii students to come out, this is the place to document and record. This is the reason why eminent harm, foundation of eminent harm in standing. You who live here, who practice your culture, have standing. And eminent harm is destruction of the pa'akai and also the alai that we use, as well as our gathering rites. Any other questions before we go into the ocean? Ocean, Aleho Ahi, sign of the woman on this side. This, the octopus, the male, always hungry for the leho. Beautiful leho, healthy leho. Also a ho'okupu to our ku'ula. As you can see, when we were at Kihei, what was missing was all the opihi. You see a lot of opihi around here. Different kinds of opihi. All natural, all healthy. Question is, why is it so healthy? Why is it so natural around here? Our haukiuki. Beautiful, healthy. We give a documentation of the health of this place. How beautiful it is. And yet, it's under attack by invasives. Invasives that are choking it out, killing it. Why? Injection wells. Injection wells are destroying this area. Our kokua limu work together, help out the other limu, help out the village that lives here. The invasives that were brought in by Dr. Doty and others seek to destroy, overtake, push out quick claim that sounds familiar, what's going on the land. There's a prophecy of what we have in the land and what's going on in the ocean. And people pass by this highway not knowing the treasures that Kahuna has given. So as we are under assault, so is the ocean under assault and all of its inhabitants. But it is our duty and a responsibility to hear the call of what is going on. So I'm going to pass this around so people can see what the gifts of the ocean are. We have natural cancer fighters. This is a cancer fighter, AIDS fighter. Hulu hulu iliu, hair of the dog. We have hulu hulu pua'a, hair of the pig, as a limu. We have la oho o pele, or the hair of tutu pele, which we showed you yesterday. And we have hulu hulu iole, the hair of the rat. Okay. And you know, when Pele comes by, she brings her dog, and when unwanted visitors or guests are there, she sinks into the lava rock, but forgetting to conceal her hair, her ehu hair, where they say, awe, la oho e Pele, she's right here. And I am a hair, where is her dog? And oh, there he is, he's hiding also. And where is her husband? Kamapua, he's hiding too. So we have everything that normally is in balance set in the Kumalipo as the standard 2,300 years ago. That is the map and blueprint of a healthy ecosystem at the sea. So we have to step up, we have to find and identify our limus. Right now the tide is starting to come in, as we can see the breakers are getting much bigger and much louder as they start to sing their song. But as we are here, does anybody have a question when you see, especially if you were there at Kihe, and then you see all of these different life forms here, why it's so important to make a stand? Remember in J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, they were underneath the mountain in the karst, in the cave system, and the big evil demon comes breathing fire at them, and the grave wizard Gandalf says, you cannot pass, and he puts his staff down. That's what we have to do to those big bad developers. You cannot pass, and boom, you put it down. And that's what we all have to do and step up and be the Gandalf and say, Ole, you cannot pass. This is too important for us. It's our life. Our iwi kupuna is our life. The ocean is our life. Our practice is our life. You cannot take our lives. We will not allow it to happen, ever. So, Ole, we will not allow it to happen. So, any questions on this? The invasive one is the hypnea, which is right there. The hypnea. Right in front, yeah. Right in front. So you got your invasives, then what they do, yeah, different colors. They have like hooks on them that anchor to our limu and tear them. You see, our moon has its own time for planting called Hoaka. Hoaka is the natural time when the breakers will come and take the seeds and also break off parts of the vegetation mass of the limu, and it will tuck it in and plant it, or the sand will huli and cover at the right time of the moon. So the moon takes care of itself. And the time for picking is designated by the moon, because the gravity of the moon will dictate how much medicine is inside your limu. In the La'au phases and the Kanaloa phases are the time we go to pick for our limu. In the month of Mohalu, it is kapu to have limu brought as ho'okupu. You can only bring coconuts, but not limu, so you have to know unintended consequences of not knowing the rules. There is a pushback that will take place, whether you know it or not. So that is why it's important to learn when you have the opportunity to learn. And so what we're doing here is to afford that opportunity, and we have many different kinds of limu. But you know, we see the sea turtles getting all these cancerous tumors, and they say, well, you know, there's at least 25,000 of those green sea turtles coming back, so isn't it working? And I'm going, what's working? You take away our healing limu that I've seen being destroyed, the pharmacy for the sea, they no longer have the drugs to protect themselves against the viruses. Viki Viki I don't see here anymore. It's disappeared for a long time. Around the same time, the tumors appeared on our green sea turtles. So by doing mismanagement of the whole system that we have, are we destroying the sea by not taking everything into consideration? The smothering, these are not kokua limus. This is not our Hawaiian ohana limu. Our Hawaiian limu, ohana, kokua, they gather together, build a haleo limu. This is not what's happening here with the invasives. Invasives are quick claiming, stealing, and trying to smother our kokua limu. Our kokua limu with hulu hulu manawea and lama limu protect the weaker limu. Ah, my, come over here. You poor thing. You need some help. We're gonna help you grow. That's us. So behind the limu is its aumakua. Hina lau limu kala. Behind the coral is kanipili koa. So we cannot forget what we are, what we come from. When my mother had surgery here in 2002, her cocoa blood smelled like limu. Limu ko. It's in our blood. We cannot divorce ourselves from the ocean. So it's important to know our cultural identity and step up. So that's the invitation that we give everybody. So I mahalo. Any questions? Yes, Claire.
I've seen you make hope with the seaweed, but I've never seen anybody else make it with the limu. Is there a particular meaning to the offering of the seaweed?
Yeah.
You need to repeat the question.
The question that Clara Pana raised is she's seen me do ho'okupu with the limu, but she hasn't seen anybody else do ho'okupu with the limu. So is there a significance? Yes. There are only certain types of limu that you can use for ho'okupu that is acceptable. For Pele, her favorite is limu kala. Also, she loves the lau'oho Pele, or aki aki is her favorite as well. Limu koho was reserved in kapu for the royalty. Very important limu. Li pe'e pe'e for the gods. Pe'e pe'e means to be hidden, tucked under. But also, when the gods ate it, they didn't want you to see. Oh, so good. Oh. So in a protective moment, they would eat it. So no one would see how much they enjoyed that limu. But that li pe'e pe'e has a kapu, where when you make the limu lei, no pregnant women are to wear that particular limu. Because the baby, pe'e pe'e inside, just like our mavavai ceremony where I showed you the kaiten, for the path to be cleared, no obstruction. Take away that obstruction, clear the path, and we use our limu and our hu'umo'o to do that ceremony so that the baby will have a good chance of doing what it was sent on earth to do, and its siblings behind it will not get into a logjam because the first brother and sister, oh, bus up. So we want to clear that way, ma vavai, the feet vavai, clear path. So the ocean clears the path for many things that we have, obstructions. Limu kala has the mana to forgive and bring back what was lost. This is the pu'uhonua of the ocean. This is the reconciliation between the mountain and the sea, the kanavai. That's why when you see this, I usually bow before it and say, mahalo ke'ua, for your forgiveness, that we all need forgiveness. But to be forgiven, you have to do right. You cannot stay in the wrong. You have to know you did right and want to take that off of you. And this limu kala can wash you. When we do the practice of limu kala for our iwi kupuna, the moment we touch it on the ground where the heva has been done to them, you take the limu kala, but I wouldn't suggest this, but as a kahu I did it. And it's usually very sweet, the limu kala. You put this where the iwi kupuna have been abused and damaged, instantly it's bitter. It transfers the kamaha, the heaviness, away from the spirit into this limu. And it becomes very bitter, very bitter. Okay, so the bitterness is taken, and then we hele'ai into the kai uli to ask just to malama it out there, and mama uanoa to break it up into nothing and release, let them go out in the sea. So that's what we're going to be doing later on. Any other questions? Yes, Uncle.
Remember on Molokai, one of the baby pico, when the pico fall off, and take them to the beach, and you go to certain stones with planning limo, look like sponge kind of limo, almost look like that limo right there. Yeah, but kind of thick. And this way they place all the pico. When the pico come off, I just wondering if you have anything similar to the umbilical cord and the limo.
Yes, we have two umbilical cords, the pico spiritually on our top of our po'o, and the pico here. Part of the mababai ceremony is that we have creatures on certain rocks that look like fetuses. They look like tiny babies that are coming out. So what we try to do is transfer and say, please, my baby, I want them to be free. Transfer anything bad to this that looks like a fetus. So you are the representation, or what they call today, avatar of my baby. So anything bad, you get whacked, but not my baby. You take it, but not my baby. So that my baby has a chance to live and to fight. Still do that today. Mahalo. Kono. Very kono. Ai kono. Thank you, Uncle, for the sharing. Yes.
That's not it.
Limo that is poki? Oh, in poki. We have ogo manawea, which is crunchy. It kind of looks like that, but you know that it's crunchy and it's not like a vine. This is thinner, not thicker. It's like a vine. Our manawea, mana'u'ea. Ea is the sea turtle. Everybody says hono. Hono is turtle on the land, but ea is the correct term for the sea turtle. And the mana, it gets from the limu, the strength, its vitality. So if you destroy our limu, the mana no longer goes to the turtle. Okay. As we see, the water is getting higher and higher, so we're going to have to move with the ocean, otherwise pretty soon the breakers will be on us. If you want to come closer, we'll show you the spring. Okay, as we talk about the kanawai, the movement of the fresh water, what makes this so prolific is there are many springs running underground, and those springs are what make the abundance of life. So if we could move out of the light just a little bit so we can see. You can see the water is running, and this is fresh water, not ocean water, but fresh water coming. But as I did this, you can see the alai going down there. You can see the alai on my hand. That's one of the reasons why this is so prolific, because when you get a little bit of alai, just tiny per millionths of it, you're going to have all of this explosion of life here. So fresh water and just a little bit of alai moving through, just a little bit, but not like this where it's very heavy, but just tiny, tiny. We can see the life eating by the alai. Okay, tiny little bit of life. So here's the fresh water. We've been here doing low tide, and this has been moving constantly down. And if you were to tap your finger in this, it's not salty like the ocean. It's proof positive and documented that the springs are here. And that's why whenever you pass by the coastal system and you see prolific palahalaha, which is starting to grow here, but it's profuse in Kihei, and you see limukala, you know that there are springs all throughout that area. But then if you go down further, you notice it's a desert, desolate, absent. The reason why, no vavai, kanavai, the natural flowing to the ocean. So if you just take a taste, you will see what I say is true, that this is what makes this such a prolific area. But this is what we see. It's what we don't see that is running underneath, that holds up the foundation of this limu. So when we're talking about protecting up there, they should do a study. What's the long-term cumulative effects of heavy metal dropping on the asphalt, raining and coming into this ditch without putting it channeling it into a retention dam? Just think of it. I give you a clear, clean glass, crystal clear glass, pour in crystal clear fresh water, and then I dump in some oil. You want to drink that? Does anybody want to drink that? But that's what you're asking the sea to do. Here is where the magic of life begins in our estuary freshwater system. And you want it to drink oil? Do you want to drink oil in your glass? The answer is no, neither do they. Neither do they, yes.
I know it's called non-source point pollution because we can't point to the source, but you can point to all the housing and the development. But Kanaha Pond is the same thing. Every bit of wastewater in Kahului is diverted into the sacred estuarine environment. So I just wanted to comment on that.
It's all true.
It's just that they say, oh, we don't know where it's coming from. Yeah, you do. You have all those cars parked up here, dripping oil, dripping fluids, this and that, using, pesticides and fertilizers. We do know the source.
And the question is, why aren't our city councils or our state legislatures or the governors or mayors passing the right legislation to protect our estuaries? And what that is drill, baby, drill. We want tax map keys, and in fact, they want to close off all of Olowalu by the ocean to put that highway to the mountain so they can tax map key that entire oceanfront for billion-dollar homes, million-dollar homes, which are local people. The taxes go up so high on Kauai and in different places, they can't afford to stay there. But what's in it for the city and the state? Money at the expense of our local people just to raise money for their coffers. And so they look the other way. And the only time that it was ever put down in law is in our case against Haseko Eva Inc. in Papipi Road, where I said, hey, you can't put your drainage here. And Judge Hifu 2007 ruled 2 rulings. Haseko Eva Inc. tell Mr. Lee by doing a long-term study on what is the cumulative impacts on heavy metals on Mr. Lee's cultural practice, i.e. the limu. And if you can't do a 5-year study showing where the lead and trace sourcing it into the limu, into the haukiuki, and into the fish, and have a study for him, then have retention dams. So they will keep the heavy metal on the land, drain through the sand like a filter, so that what goes in the ocean is no heavy metal. Why is that not the standard in this state? It is in Florida. Why isn't it here? Why does wastewater, when we can utilize it by doing retention dams with spillways, and also by doing reservoirs so we can tap that water when we need it, utilize it in the Pono way? And you got to ask yourself that question. And then you got to ask yourself, why aren't you asking that question? Because it's very important. And that's something, this is your government. You put them in there. It's your kuleana, it's your responsibility. So whose fault is it really? It's ours. The buck stops here. Not those paid puppets of the developers and drill, baby, drill. And let's make our dream come true of divide and conquer of this land and take. Remember, that's the Western lens. Greed, money, selfishness. Hawaiian lens is ho'oponopono, take care, resolve, kokua, work it out, okay? And then rest. There is no rest for the wicked, but there is rest for our konehiki, because that's what it's all about. When you do the right thing, everybody has to heal moi and rest. You try to make a plant bloom all the time, it's gonna die. It needs rest. Any farmer knows that. So we have to do that kahuna o maka and practice what our ancient practice for 1.2 million Hawaiians. No matson, no gas coming in, nothing. They just have the local ia 80 on Molokai, some coming offline, some coming online. We have our lo'i terraces from the mountain to the sea. We use kanawai water 1,000 times before it gets into the ocean. So the conservation. And then we put heiaus in the mountains so no erosion, because the crux of konehiki is how to increase the opportunity of abundance without collapsing the source. What is the source? Life. Life is the source. Reproduction is the source. We're the source. The ocean is the source. The water is the source. So we increase the opportunity of abundance without taxing everybody. But we all share in Laulima. We all share together in the portion. I'm not a communist, I'm not a socialist, I'm not a capitalist, I'm a konehikiist. And I'm not into the kapu system, but I am into konehiki, and we need to bring back the konehiki system. Because when the scientists do a bad science fair project in the northwest Hawaiian Islands, and the mismanagement of allowing overfishing and taking out too many lobsters and he'es in their traps and collapsing the food source for the monk seal, then they starve up there. And what is the bad science fair project for those scientists who don't read Captain Cook's journals? 1.2 million Hawaiians, just as many people we have today, with tens of thousands of monk seals. What did they do right that we're doing wrong? Konehiki. Konehiki. We did not collapse anything. And then what is the bad science fair idea from these brilliant scientists? Let's artificially take the monk seal from the northwest Hawaiian Islands and force it down the throat of every island and stop the native Hawaiian cultural practitioner. Hey brother, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, because we never did that, okay? Monk seal, it's in chant 6 of Kumulipo. The thing is, it was known as the water rat, bringing its hunger, okay? But it lived in abundance because we never over-harvested its primary food source. So the answer is, well, if you want to take out a grant and make money and do the right thing, get the roe of the lobsters, grow them on the Big Island, reseed where you destroy, instead of infringing on Hawaiian gathering rights. It's like the brilliant idea of bringing the mosquito. It's like the brilliant idea of bringing the mongoose. It's like the brilliant idea of bringing the cane toad. Again, the brilliant idea, Dr. Doty, invasive limu. Those are all brilliant bad science fair projects that we still are repeating the bad wheel. So why? Why are we blind to what is Hawaiian? Because it's an admission that we don't need the Western powers. That if all of our local ia are going full bore on Molokai, we don't need the state of Hawaii to write out welfare checks. Ole, keep your money. We don't need you. And by the way, pack up and get up. Okay, so we don't need your stuff. Okay, so it is in our Hawaiian cultural gathering rights. That's why DLNR has 19 different agencies you have to go through getting permitting to rebuild one wall for the Hawaiian fish pond. The federal government says you cannot take silt out of your Hawaiian fish pond. Why? They know that's the seed, the secret of our mana and power. You make us strong in our cultural practice, Article 12, Section 7. We don't need you. There's no palapala that gave you this land. Remember, Queen Leleokalani, before she left office, 96% literacy, no homeless, no hungry Hawaiians. Organic Act comes in 1900, cannot speak your language, cannot talk about the Queen. Imprisonment if you practice your culture. And what people never understand in the 40s when they said, oh, Tutu said I can't teach Hawaiian to us, it's not because she couldn't, or she was ashamed of being Hawaiian. It was the law of the land, you couldn't do it. That was never transmitted. So all the Hawaiians in the 40s and 50s said, oh, you gotta be Western, you gotta be haole to be successful. That was not it at all. What was never explained is that it was the law that you were a criminal if you practiced your culture. And we went from 96% literacy to 70% of our local Pa'aina prisoners in the penal system of today that are shipped like opala away, when we have a perfectly good prison on Kulani, which I'm fighting in that case to keep Kulani as a pu'uhonua model for us and show the rest of the world how it's done right, because we didn't have all of that problem before that Pala came and the Organic Act came and the systematic genocide of our Hawaiian cultural practice and our Hawaiian rights. Any questions?
Have you ever heard of the book Collapse? You should get it. It's Jared Diamond. He's a biologist. He wrote Germs, Guns, and Steel, which is a condemnation of the West coming, but he looks at, I think, 10 societies that have collapsed in the past, you know, because of over-exploitation, like the Maya. The Maya are still there, but in that classic Maya style, so it's just, you keep talking about collapse. It's basically why societies choose to fail. And I was thinking, I'm not Hawaiian, and I don't know all the names of the limu, but if heavy metals don't go in the water, it benefits me, and it benefits, you know, so the thing is, if it takes knowledge and education to get it, I think that everyone, and not everyone in the West is quite as greedy, you know, so I think some people, you know, would like to see more resource management. But that book is a very good book if you want to take a look at why societies choose to fail by over-exploitation, not paying attention to nature.
Thank you, thank you.
Can you explain the konehiki that you're talking about? Because I know you mentioned it a lot.
Okay, the konehiki system, from the mountain to the sea. The mo'i would choose the konehikis, expert practitioners in their ahupua, ili, or moku. And that was their responsibility to regulate and divide up the catches and the productivity of the sea. If you were a bad konehiki, you could be removed. If you were a lazy konehiki, you would be removed, because society depended on its food source to be there, not to be misused, mismanaged, and destroyed. When a konehiki was too strict and stringent, they would go to the king and complain. He's putting the kapus on the fishes of the rivers, and he's putting the kapus here and the kapus there. We cannot feed ourselves. So the king would intervene and even remove a konehiki if he was not doing the right thing. Konehiki was also part of the taxation system linked to the kapu system, that during the November months the taxation would come and they would get from the mo'i to the highest chief, to the other chiefs, to the district chiefs, to the konehiki, to the village, to the people in the village. Everything was designated in portion size. So everybody knew what they could and could not take. Under the king, the konehiki enforced the system of kapu by putting kapu sticks. If you violated the kapu, you lost your life. So Hawaiians could not go fishing anytime, any place, anywhere. You would get the kapu enforced and they would take the boom on your head. So the bottom line is it was a strict enforcement because everybody's life depended on it. That if you stepped out of the system and said, I'm an independent, yeah, you're now an iwi kupuna. Okay, so find a different set of islands in the South Pacific and go that way, south, okay, because that's not the rule laid down here. Any other questions?